Can you hear us, Margaret?
I can hear you now.
Margaret, you want to introduce yourself?
Margaret Kahn, Secretary.
Scott, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Hey everyone, my name is Scott Newhart. I'm with MPB and I'm here on behalf of Valerie Menastra tonight.
Thank you. The only item on our agenda this evening is the Village of Ossining Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant. Here.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairperson Stevens and the Town Planning Board for seeing us this evening. We've been in front of you all for some different phases, but we're in front of the Town Planning Board now, probably going into our third year from our original application. It's been a long road behind the scenes as well. In addition to your interacting with you, we've been interacting with consultants who I will introduce in a second that are with us this evening for this dissolved air flotation
Can you
facility.
identify yourself, please?
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
My name is Paul Fraioli. I'm the Director of Operations for Village of Ossining. With me this evening is our Superintendent of Water, Andrew Teese. Consultants that have worked on this project, Hazen Sawyer and Keller Session. Hazen Sawyer with us this evening was going to do a presentation to you as well with her. Is an associate of Hazen Sawyer's, Michael Broder. And to my right is John Manson from Keller Session. All of which have been part of the application, which you guys have been reviewing for the past couple of years. So we appreciate that. We know it's been a tall order. So between you and your consultants, I feel it very much appreciates the effort. So thank you for that. As a matter of fact, I'd like to also tell you that the village, with this last application to the Town Planning Board, we look forward to moving to project which we've already bonded in the village to actually put out a full prime goods law contract bidding probably in 2 to 3 months. Working around some constraints of the DEC and what we can do certain parts of the project. So as well with this application this evening, we hope to address any of your final concerns that we have here with at the later stage, which is a site plan adjustment. So thank you for that. And there's no questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Stevens, and really appreciate this opportunity. Here we have the presentation. We have backup files.
Oh, that's still good. I'm not sure where to find that on here.
No, it's okay.
If you go to this PC, to the left, on the list to the left, all the way on the left. Yeah. And, that. What do you call it?
Yes.
Probably the G.
Yeah, just double click remove the disk at 6 o'clock.
G drive.
Well, it's quite good. Good. Correct.
Yeah. Would you like me to make copies of the PowerPoint, just distribute to everybody? A little of this, just in case it's
How difficult is that to do?
easy. I just know to go do it, but I didn't want to do it if that wasn't good for others.
Whatever's best for you. That's you.
Oh. Good much choice. Sometimes.
Is it the plan and then here? Can we just look and can you explain by looking at this?
It is the plan, but it's also, I can certainly walk through the PowerPoint for the
Okay.
things that I'm making. And,
Slides on this or whatever.
yeah, we
You
can,
guys.
we can do that.
What do you
I can
guys
walk through the
That's
PowerPoint
fine.
and we can provide a comment.
Then we have to share the screen as well.
Okay.
Let's share.
That's the big. That's the cookie with PowerPoint on this machine.
Who's that?
Make a motion to.
That's one of those.
We have it on a board also as a backup plan, so he's gonna go from his car,
Okay,
and Ruby will talk to that.
perfect. And I'll talk through the points and
you
we
don't
can
have PowerPoint.
obviously provide that afterwards. Not ideal.
Low tech.
Old school.
That's right.
Okay,
Right.
that's fine.
Okay. Gives me a good excuse to just look down. All right, you guys let me know when you're ready.
So do you want to wait and come back?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Can everyone online hear me okay?
Can you hear us, Margaret? Okay? Can you hear Ruby?
Hi, Margaret, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I could hear you.
We're just waiting a couple minutes for Jan to come back. We've had some technical difficulties, so we're getting a board that has the site plan the site plan on it, and I'm going to talk through the PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll provide a copy of the presentation. Afterwards. Not ideal, but we'll make it work. I do have it on my laptop as well, but I don't know with that machine if it's possible, with your setup, if it's possible to connect it.
Connect her laptop directly to the TV.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably gonna have is with Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we need that. the meeting.
Carol,
Oh, my.
Any more?
I have, thank you.
On the screen? All right, well, good.
Again, thank you, everyone, and thank you for your patience. With that, I will get started. Okay, so again, I'm Ruby Wells. I've been with Kingston, she's going on 10 years now. I've been working on this project with the team for many years as well. We'll get right into it. I'd like to start by just some basic information about the existing plant and the existing site for the benefit of anyone who isn't as familiar, and just to reorient ourselves. It's been a little while since we've stood in front of you. So the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant was originally constructed in 1930. Major expansion that occurred in 1986. The nominal capacity of the plant is 4 MGD. And as many of you are probably aware, it draws its water supply from New Croton Reservoir as well as Indian Brook Reservoir. Improvements that have taken place at the existing plant over the last 10 years include population tank and system rehab, filter wash improvements, as well as improvements to the outdoor tanks. I do have a project location map here that you can see, but just to orient you. A lot going on here. The reservoir, Indian Brook Reservoir, is over here. Obviously, the existing plant is here. And I was just going to point out some roads which are not shown, that the access road is off the page this way. And the new plant will go in a moment, but just to orient you, here's the existing plant and the new plant. The main part will be this area right here. You see in green roofs, this is the bioretention cell plant. This is the location map, and you probably can't see here, but it's right adjacent to Indian Brook Reservoir. And Powell Road is south as well as Reservoir Road. Moving on. So the existing plant currently does meet all water quality goals and standards, as many of you are already aware. But the new plant will really address the aging plant, and treatment process and efficiencies, and just ensure that the project will continue to be a reliable drinking water source for years to come. So again, back to the existing plant. The original plant consisted of coagulation, flocculation, DAF, intermediate fluorination, dual media filtration, and UV disinfection. I'm sorry, my apologies. That's the original design that you guys had reviewed, that the board had reviewed back in 2018, 2019, consisted of those processes. What we're here today to discuss is the amended design, and the thing that prompted the amended design was taste and odor events that have occurred since the preliminary original design was established. And so to address those taste and odor events, the treatment design now, the amended treatment design now, and treatment plan design includes UV AOP, or advanced oxidation process, as well as powder activated. And just to explain a little bit, I won't get too in the weeds, but the UV AOP consists of the UV process as well as the addition of hydrogen peroxide.
I'm zooming in.
That's great.
Amazing.
Okay, so from the
Okay.
top, this is what we're speaking about.
Incredible.
Very nice. Can I say anything?
Yes.
Water Superintendent David Tees. Just to bring everybody back up to speed, as far as the water quality issues that we had, you guys can remember a couple of years ago we had NYB in the water. And that was from decaying algae from the New York City water source. Hundreds of calls came in, it was on the news. We had to address it fast. We instituted a carbon system, powder activated carbon, that would remove the taste and odor issues from the MIB. We knew it wouldn't be sustainable because in the future, we never know if New York City would be sending us this MIB, and it would be short-sighted not to make these changes to the plan. So the silver lining is, could you imagine putting a $30 or $40 million plant online without having MIB, and all of a sudden we have those taste and odor issues? So it was a blessing in disguise, but when Ruby had talked about like the powder and carbon and the AOP system, the way to destroy MIB, say if the concentrations come in 150 parts per million, we want to use the UV, which we had. It was a huge increase as far as not money-wise, it's a huge increase because it's like 4 times the size of what's required for disinfection. We needed to put this UV system in and then have the peroxide system added so that we would destroy the MIB if it comes in high concentrations, and with the peroxide that helps, and then we have to dechlorinate that. So, belt suspenders, we would still use the carbon system at the front of the plant, and we're not going to change that because it's working. Right now, the numbers are low on the MIB, it's less than 1, but there are times when it's up as high as 20. But during that instance, if everybody remembers what the water tasted like, it was it was over 100. So we designed the system to handle 150. Just so there's a little background.
See, the existing plan is the top right corner, and then the new plant will be in the middle area, just like some roads. Yeah, this is what we just talked about. And then this is just a simplified block diagram of the treatment train in China, if anything comes up, but the new component, again, we want to focus on the new components.
Sure. So obviously this is the new design. So when you see the rapid mix, that's where the chemicals are added, including the powder activated carbon and polyaluminum coagulant. Flocculation is a little bit different. We still try and grab the dirt and make the particle into a larger particle. So it can be either removed in two ways. The existing plant is through sedimentation, right? We switched this to dissolved air flotation. So these micron bubbles that we're going to be putting in this tank, it allows the footprint to be much smaller in this plant. And it's so much more efficient. So instead of the sludge like in the existing plant where it would settle and you'd sweep the sludge off the bottom, which would be any organics, leaves, turbidity, and chemicals, we're floating that with micron bubbles and then we scrape it off the top. It's amazing. Actually, the first plant in the United States was the Millwood Water Treatment Plant, 2 miles from here, instituted. And then the dual media filtration, which is anthracite and sand, and then the advanced UV system. So this is with the hydrogen peroxide that will destroy the MIB. Not only will it destroy MIB, Giardia, Cryptosporidium, will allow us to lower our chlorine residual in the system that sometimes residents taste and smell. And by just with that type of system, by lowering the chlorine, you lower your disinfectant byproducts, which is cancer causing, right? So it's THMs, HAAs. These are byproducts of when turbidity and dirt makes its way through even a filter, and then we disinfect, which is required by the health department. That byproduct is not good, and that's why you have to keep the numbers low. The other thing that's going to be added in this plant is caustic soda and orthophosphate. And if everybody's aware of what happened in Flint, Michigan, which everyone should be aware, we've been passing on lead collars, but the EPA regs are changing next year on how to test and how to treat that water. This plant, is going to be ready for those regs in a couple of years. We're going to institute a system within the next year that's going to kind of mimic those two chemicals. We feed lime in the plant right now for pH control and corrosion control. So if you have a lead service line, there's not really many in Austin. We've gotten rid of most of them. There's still 150 out there. The whole goal is so that the water, when it comes in contact with someone's lead service, if they have a lead service, it doesn't allow it to be dissolved into the water. This new system will be much more efficient than lime, and we're trying to get that into the open. We're going to get the health department approval, and then we're proving that with the study of it. So it's not only like making the water better quality, less sludge, less oxidation, less byproducts, but it's also ensuring that lead and copper meet standards. So it's a multi process.
So what would the pH of the water, is that going to be the same as it is now?
pH would be, it might be a hair higher. It depends on the alkalinity and then what the health department wants as far as parameters, because you're allowed a certain amount of excursions. But like we look at that daily, right? So we have New York City water that we purchase. We take in about 70% New York City, 30% from Indian Brook. If the alkalinity is too low at our own reservoir, we're bringing more of New York City. So the health department and the EPA kind of set these regs up in the last couple of years after what happened in Flint. Not only did Flint not meet their goals as far as their treatment on what they put out, they chose to buy cheaper water, which was more aggressive, the Langmuir index, to save on the water costs, and then it was so aggressive. So we look at so many parameters, and that's part of the Langmuir index, the pH, and the corrosivity.
I'm sorry, it's Flint, didn't they ship their water source
Yes.
from
the
river?
Yeah, they switched to a cheaper water source, and that the homework wasn't done as far as the aggressivity on the source side. Just because the pH looked good, just because they didn't go through all the parameters, and it was turned. So.
Thank you. So this slide is just summarizing the fact that there is no change in the capacity, the design capacity of the amended plan. Sorry, I just want to clarify. I keep toggling between terms. So when I say original design or original plan, I'm referring to the previous design or the 2018 design that didn't have the additional processes. And the amended design is the complete final project with the amendments. So just to get it, when I say existing, that's the thing that's here today. So, sorry for the confusion. So no change between original design and amended design for nominal capacity, 4 MGD, maximum flow, 5 MGD, and then peak flow, 6.8. So that's the same. And I know this is a little hard to see, maybe it's easier in your packet, but this is just highlighting, again, the changes, the additional processes or the additional footprint of the amended design. So starting from the right, you'll see the red circle, that's the new hydrogen peroxide building. And I have, in case you're interested, the approximate dimensions there is about 12 feet by 23 feet, so about 276 square feet for that building. And then the middle, that's the blue circle you see in the middle of the main building. That is the extension of the facility, just about 40 feet to allow for the new UV system, or the amended UV system, I should say. That area is 40 feet by 23, which is about 920 square feet. And then to the left, the red circle there, to the left is the new pack. That's going to be approximately 30 feet by 15 feet. Let's go to the next slide. This is really the same site plan, just without the circles. Again, I know it's hard to see here, but wanted to really flag for you. Excuse me, sorry. I wanted to flag for you that, and I might show you here as well, the wetland, the impacts to the wetland, there's no additional encroachment on the wetland. What you want to talk about for a second, it's just with all the colors and everything. This is,
Wetland boundaries is in pink,
yes.
it's about 6,000 square feet.
And so the extension, what I'm calling the extension for the UV, amended UV system is here away from the wetland. So you can see that a little bit better on this figure than the previous figure. Unless there's any questions, there's a couple more drawings to go.
Is that the wetland or the wetland buffer?
I believe, and Jan will let you chime in, I believe there's no, that is the wetland that we're showing, but I don't believe there's any work within the buffer either. Right?
In the new improvements, perhaps there's some impact to the wetland.
From the overall project, but no new from the amendment, because again, it's away from that area. That's a great question.
So but the extension's not in the, that's not coming into the wetland buffer?
From the original, Mike Road is,
Uh,
yeah, the impacted area is not changed. The
Okay.
extension of the building is already in what was the impacted area.
awesome. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Next slide. We can always come back if any other questions come up. This is, I'll go through this very quickly. This is just showing the access, the driveway to the plant. So this is off to the west. Thank you. Over here, off the and no change here. So this is just, I wanted to show you the complete drawing set just for completeness. Yeah, and no change here from the original design. And then the next slide. And this is, again, it's very busy, hard to see, but in case we wanted to get into any detail, this is the full design showing you, know, the again, the fire retention area to the right. That large oval is the fire retention area. This is from the original design, nothing new there. The main treatment plant, and then all of the additional buildings. So it's just the full set. Questions on that. Okay, and so permitting status, this is obviously critical. As I think we've mentioned, Westchester County DOH has approved the design. Now, they approved the original design back in November 2021. And then about a year later, they approved the amended design. And really, obviously, that was the critical approvals that we needed in order to continue the remaining permitting efforts, which I'll go over in the next couple slides. I did want to quickly note that the amended design did not trigger any new or need for any new or revised permits that we'd already received, because it's all within the footprint of the existing disturbance area. Trees are coming out, that sort of thing. Go for that on the next slide. And I also wanted to flag quickly, Mike, that on the previous slide, that this big map here is just showing. I'm very proud of this. It took a lot of time to go back and forth with New York State DEC on the wintering bald eagle habitat. They were arguing that the project could affect wintering bald eagles along the Hudson. And after a lot of back and forth with them, we were able to convince them that the project will have zero effect. So that is done. Okay, so going into the status of the remaining permits that we'll need. So I've grouped these into two sets, the construction permits and the what I'm calling an operational permit. So the construction permits are all three of these are anticipated to be approved by June 2023. There's always some wiggle room there. Of course, things can take a little bit longer during the pandemic, but our recent experience is that this is a very reasonable and anticipated timeframe. So the first permit I have listed here is the PCN, the pre-construction notification, and this is through U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We have it all packaged up, ready to go, and so that will be going out likely this week. And that's essentially the main thing the Army Corps cares about is the wetland impacts. And again, those are not changing. We just needed to hold this application until we knew that there are no additional impacts to wetlands, and there are not. So we're sending this to Army Corps this month and expecting, for this week, expecting no issues there. Same thing with the SWIP. We have that all packaged up and ready to go. Now that we know the stormwater disturbance and all of those things, and the town was able to find that a few weeks ago. And then the third permit I have listed there is the species permit. We actually submitted that to DEC back in December. We got their comments back already. We're addressing those, and they're fairly straightforward. So again, we anticipate that being issued in a timely fashion. The next permit we'll talk about is what I'm calling again the operational permit. It's not needed for construction. It's a water withdrawal permit, referred to as. It's a DEC permit. Obviously DEC regulates the amount of water that the village pulls from the reservoir, and it's required for operation of the plant because at the time when the village wants to increase the amount that they withdraw from the reservoir, they'll need that approval from DEC. Because it can be a little bit time consuming, and because to get that approval, and because the village is planning on maintaining the current withdrawal amount from the reservoir from MGD. We're having ongoing discussions with DEC, but there's no need to get this signed off prior to construction starting. Absolutely before operation, but it's not needed for construction. So those are the four state and federal permits I'm going to go over. Oh yeah, of course.
All of that. The key about that water withdrawal permit, right? So I don't know if you're aware, but we spent $6 million putting new intakes in the spillways, probably 6 or 7 years ago. DEC likes to regulate the amount of water their own reservoir. The thing is, that's okay. It's a 100 million gallon reservoir that stores water. We never draw that water down more than 2 or 3 feet. Mostly it's within the top 6 inches. So when you have a wet season like we have now, and the water quality is great. And when you're purchasing water from New York City at $2,200 per million gallons, and putting out 3 million gallons a day right now, it's over $6,000 a day. If we're able to bring in more of our own free water, as long as the water quality is good, the language index, the aggressivity, we want to be able to. So we're negotiating that number. We'd like it to be 1.3, but depending on the municipality and how much people draw down the water, you have to limit. So that's why we're saying it's a continued conversation. It's a great resource. Now, there's times when the reservoir water is not as good as New York City. We're not going to take it because it's free. It might require more coagulants, a poly, the pack that's required to cause some coagulation. And we do the numbers, and so it's more cost benefit and easier to take New York City, even though it's not. So we do that analysis.
Any questions on these permits before we move on to a summary of where we are with town? So, sure, many of you are wondering how the amendment impacts SECRA. The good news is that it does not. Just recall that the neg deck was issued back in September 2018, and it was then amended in 2019 to address DEC comments and to do a coordinated review. And again, this amended design, it doesn't alter or introduce any impacts. There's minimal additional disturbance, and as we'll talk about in a second, no additional impacts to wetlands or anything of that nature. So luckily, we're good with that with SECRA. Tree removal permit was adopted by the town December 2018. Same thing, the amended design will not result in additional tree removal. The architectural resolution was adopted the same day, back in 2018. And the amended design is consistent with and in accordance with the original architectural design resolution. Finally, last but not least, we have the wetlands. The conceptual wetland mitigation design was shared with the town back in November 2022. As Jan will speak to for a minute, it's the conceptual design is completed based on discussions with the town and the mitigation requirements. That's all I have for today. Review.
To the extent that you want to figure out wetlands. It's not to use for those big words that anything. Can't pronounce half of them. So the wetland on the property, so 6,000 square foot hillside seat that presently is within 5 miles. It's the pink area that is laid behind the wetland will be impacted. It's an unavoidable impact. That impact occurred with commercial approvals. What have not occurred with the original approval was the secret neck deck and the resolution indicated that was to be prepared at a later date. So our office was tasked to prepare a wetland mitigation plan, and it really involves 2 different phases. On this sheet, adjacent to the building itself, provision of the roof, quality, and those are the green kind of boxes on the top of the building. They add up to just over 12,000 square feet. Green area to the corner there, that's going to be a planting area, restoration, and there's planting plants and these so they're put together. There's other benefits, environmental benefits that are occurring in this program that we're not counting as mitigation, such as stormwater filtration systems, the bioretention systems. The walkway in the back is a permeable
this walkway. We just did not count. It's wetland mitigation because they're required. I'm actually going to turn this around because this is basically the same slide with a little bit of updated information. So the neg deck spoke to goal of replacing 6,000 square feet of loss of balance. So that's where this is occurring up here closer to the reservoir. The area in blue on either side of the dam, that all the areas that are shaded right here consist of maintained lawn. Along the shoreline, along the blue areas is all fragments. The goal here is to remove the phragmites in the blue area, and then actually regrade that portion. So the blue area sits about 8 inches below the water line, create a bit of a shelf there, and plant it with emerging vegetation. So that's the blue areas are the wet migration areas, and they total just over the 6,000 square feet, that's 6,500 square feet. So that's the wetland replacement. It's a second bonus of removing the invasives that are there. We have not developed a specific planting plan, so that's the general concept. The green areas, the one on the right there, again, maintain lawn. There'll be a transition zone. We'll plant that out with native trees, shrubs, and perennials. We'll seed it with a native seed mix and just let that grow kind of fallow and become, an extension of the wood line.
Okay, and I'm sorry, in the report, it stated that you were going to remove invasive species.
Yeah, the phragmites along the blue area along the edge of the shoreline is inundated with. So that's the invasive species removal, and then we're extending that shoreline into the property a little bit. It's really the only area on the site that we can get any sort of hydrology that would support vegetation. So that's the simplest approach. The green circles along the property line, those would be native evergreens. That serves a dual purpose of habitat, but also there's some residences off page that appreciate some screening.
So water from the reservoir is actually processed in and out into the.
No, so if you look to the left all the way down, that's where there's a dock there, right exactly there, and on the end of that dock there's 2 different intakes, and then there's a load right, and it goes over to the left, right into the earthen dam, and then goes down. If you move the arrow right to the Creox basement, right? That's what it mixes. The other side is the spillway. That is a new spillway that just so you get some context. The reservoir is. It's really hard to explain. Right, the reservoir is up here. Here's that spillway, and then the water course runs around the outside edge of the property. So it runs down, so it's a dissipation energy. So on the spillway side of it, Mike, if you put the spillway right there, that is a weir that was installed that has more surface area than the old one. We have a 13-foot spillway that actually allowed the water to go over the dam. Now it's like 50 feet because we made it in the shape of like a W, so it's more surface area. So that's all new chute and a dissipation energy. And Tropical Storm Floyd 20 years ago, whenever that was, the water level, it's an earthen dam. 1800s. It made its way right to the top of the core wall and started spilling over. And if that did happen, that earthen dam could have been compromised and taken out the treatment. So it's designed for a 500 years flood storm. in the big picture, once the treatment plant goes online, that air structure will come down. The white building will come down. We're gonna probably change the pitch of the DEC had recommended this, where the pre-ox tanks is, if you point to that one. We would add more fill to that to make it less of a steep slope, because it's a little hard to cut the grass. We cut the grass all the time and keep it nice and trim and maintain it correctly. We're gonna increase that structure there, but that whole entire, that was a huge project. New intakes, new spillway, and then if you look right in front of that pre-ox tank, Mike, you point right there, we had to put a whole drainage system, because you do get a certain amount of throughput drainage, and it was putting pressure on those tanks. So that was like the first thing that we really focused on, besides like rebuilding the plant, because we're going for the last 20 years, to make sure that we maintain this resource, because we want to use it. Not only is it a great resource, but financially, it's a great resource for the town and the village, because if there's excess water consumption in the summertime through irrigation and people use a lot of water, once you go above the per capita number in New York City, you pay 2.5 times the rate. So instead of paying $2,000 a million gallons, you pay 5,000 based on the population, how much water you use. That's why we instituted that water demand management program, and also finding leaks. So before we designed this plant and came up with the final number, we tightened our system from 35% leakage down to 16%. So we didn't want to oversize the tank. We wanted to make it as efficient as possible. And I know Jan talked about the green roof. That's a great system that we're putting on for the stormwater. That added a lot of cost onto the overall project, because it's going to hold all the green roof throughout that, how many square foot, 12,000 square feet? But it's needed to make the site work. It's a tight site. It's where the treatment plant should be. The water gravity feeds in both locations, mostly to that treatment plant. So it's pumped a little bit from New York State, but it's the right location.
Goes back to the leakage. You said 35% to 16%. Is that what time that's in front?
No, that's how the distribution system. That's distribution system. That's leaks that we found. It was like, the original baseline number was there for years. We always pump that, but we use that money to research and do the leak detection, and found the leak that was in the creek down here that was 400,000 gallons a day. So I mean, this is real money and it's real resources.
Question, what are you gonna do? You're taking the building down, the existing one?
We're gonna keep the, well, first of all, I don't know how long you have to run the plant. I thought it was a year. Mike, is it a year you have to run the plant once it's put up, or it's approved to the health department, for 6 months?
It's really, again, like, you have to show the health department that the new plant is acceptable. So there'll be a period of time that both plants are available to the village.
Makes sense.
Once the new plant is acceptable, it stays online, the old plant will be decommissioned. As Andy said, planning on taking down the air structure over the settling tanks and flocculators. But, the buildings.
We like to repurpose the buildings. It could be offices, it could be the water department in the future.
Right.
It could be part of the DPW. We'd love to repurpose it.
Sounds good.
So.
As Andy mentioned, the pre-ox tanks, you're looking at open top serpentine channels here at the foot of the dam. And they date way back. So as part of the dam reconstruction, strengthening, once this existing plant is in service, these will be basically backfilled to the end to the mass of the dam. Bring the dam up to that.
So I have a question probably for you. Because you've been here a while. Right?
Yeah.
You do a great job. By the way.
Thank you.
But I went on the Westchester GIS maps.
Mhm.
I always do that when we're looking at projects, and it goes back to 1946. It shows the satellite pictures.
Mhm.
And in 2016, there were all trees over there. And then by 2018, they were all gone. What happened?
It had to be like, I don't know, whenever the dam project was done, but it was the dam project.
It seems like that would be probably a really great thing to recreate what was there, and that
And
would
that's,
shade out.
that's what they're kind of doing with, for Kelly Court. Um,
Well, that whole
Those
green,
lines,
those,
what?
the green shaded area will become woods.
Great, great,
With
so that was
the
what
shrub
was there.
understory and
Right.
perennials. Then we had the line of greens, that one triangle there, that looks like a little different shade of color, that's stone riprap, that's there for a reason, and we just can't touch it. So we're trying to recreate the wood line there as best as we can.
Yeah,
So
being
are
over
we
the
doing-
dam, you don't have trees and shrubs growing.
so that, yeah, it has
That's why
to be
you
certain-
can see it to the side, past the dam.
Right, right.
And that's what was compromised before. There were trees growing into the old spillway. And if one of those trees were to pull over and the spillway to go in the wrong spot, you could wipe down the whole water system. So, yeah, it's kind of, you have to, and we want the tree, but we just have to be careful with that.
So just to recap on the wetlands, there's 6,000 square feet of wetland disturbance. We have 6,500 square feet of wetland creation. There's 38,500 square feet of wetland buffer disturbance, which was the same as the original approval. And we're putting that back in mitigation. So we have slightly over into one mitigation for both wetland and wetland buffer disturbance.
So is there, so you're working on the planting plan, you haven't?
Right, the planting plan has not been prepared. This is a conceptual idea. We did submit this plan to the Army Corps. We're about to with the pre-construction application. We think that they're going to find it acceptable, and then we work to, obviously there's some grading that needs to take place with the grading plan.
And will that be presented to the board?
I believe that the wetland permit, the intent with the original approval was that the wetland permit was going to be handled administratively. Not that, we couldn't provide it to you as it progresses. I think that was the.
I thought that was the intent, but also, Jan and I.
What does that mean?
The intent of the original approval,
Uh-huh.
and I think what's been kind of relayed to us is that the wetland permit component can be handled administratively once the overall programming is kind of made acceptable to the plan. So that's why we're presenting.
We walked the property with your wetland consultant. And he was on board with the idea, and Jan was on board with the ideas of where we were.
Right, what you presented to us?
Yes, he's totally on board with it. He gave us ideas. In fact, where the spillway is, to the left, that was all his idea. So this is,
Yeah, that was
his.
But what I'm asking is that there's gonna have to be a planting plan.
There's a planting plan that would be developed prior to the issuance of
Right,
the administrative wetland permit.
right, and does that get submitted?
It certainly can be.
Because it does for every other project, so I'm just curious as to why we wouldn't be looking at a planting plan for this project.
It's my understanding that, as they said, that it would be handled
But
administratively.
why is
There
that for
wouldn't
this
have to
project
be-
and not for any of the other projects?
I think that's how it was presented in the conditions. the night that we had. And all the plantings are going to be native. Real nice job. It's gonna be reservoir. The area on the left, just so you know, I know. The area on the left, the green area, the recommendation was, we still have the same basic removals, still creating that wetland area in blue, but that green area on the left is going to be more pollinators. That was the recommendation that came down to this. So,
Yeah, I understand, we just had a lot of problems with developers, like with the great projects that don't get watered, or they don't get, which is ironic for the water treatment plant, actually, that's not a big problem.
Well, the wetland creation, that they're gonna be in water. So that's not gonna be a problem.
Right, but the green areas.
The green areas, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a maintenance program. Our plan will also demonstrate how we plan to remove invasives. We have a maintenance program, and, methodology plan and notes. So it's.
Yeah,
Your visual wetland permit.
Yeah, no, there's no wetland mitigation permit. Again, this was all, the neg deck talked about this being done separately. I wasn't,
There was an application. I think the permit is still to be issued by.
right, or the approval, because it was, I think the idea, yes, it was a condition of the neg deck and of the project going forward was you, village, will work with the town to complete and design the wetland mitigation, that it can sort of be for purposes of simplification, because it's on its own separate track. Like clearly it's important, the village is prioritizing it and understanding, but just because of the, I guess, the relative scale of the impacts to wetlands and the fact that they're not permitted, they're not under DEC jurisdiction. It's kind of better for the overall project schedule if they're on their own separate schedule and track. So we don't want to hold, in other words, we
oh, I
don't want to
totally
hold.
get that.
Yeah,
But I just.
there is
still-
no, yeah, fine.
It just, so traditionally with every other project, there's a planting plan submitted at some point, so it's,
Yeah, it was gonna concurrently, like, I remember John Hamilton talked about that. CL for this building and stuff. It's kind of, there was a lot to the project. Like, we just got Board of Health approval after 4 years. Like 2 months ago. So, being enforced by you guys, we are looking to get this out to bid during the winter season. And, the amount of money that we're talking about here, it could really make a difference in a good contractor, and a contractor is what we price. That's the push for us.
With the
Being
prior,
forthright.
I'm sorry, with the prior plan that was approved, was there an actual encroachment in?
It was the same.
In
exact
the
approach.
New York State freshwater wetland?
It's not a DEC wetland.
It's not a DEC.
This is a locally
wetland.
regulated and Army Corps regulated.
And that's why, that's probably why, town took the position that building inspector was.
That's what we spend. on
Can
right
you share the cost? I can share the cost of this installation. I saw numbers there. showed
That's
about
the-
30 million.
The original, the engineers are working on the engineer's estimate.
the
for
same
the
time
bid,
that they would
but we don't.
it's the same.
Because we're just the UV system alone is gonna have
I
10.
wouldn't say it.
It's gonna be considerable, and that's why, so I know it's not your problem, it's our problem. Times of the essence to get this out. It
Well, I don't
wasn't
see
done on
this as a
purpose, it wasn't done on
conflict.
purpose.
I'm not saying that we have to approve it tonight. I'm just saying, because I do understand the time, I totally understand it, but I also don't like the idea of us not having any input into it. But so it's not gonna come to us at all. It's gonna go to the building department, which is not. I don't think anybody, and I don't mean this in any offensive way, but I don't think anybody in the building department has knowledge of planting plans.
It was, I think it was going to be reviewed by your.
I think that.
That's what we met with.
This was the process that was described to us. That was. I mean,
Don, I do the distinction of other applications. We're talking about what, where this,
No, town road.
right,
This is a town road.
right, but this, but it's allowed to go administrative.
I think mostly every project we have is town road. I'm not gonna say-
Does that preclude Donna getting a copy of the planting plan to take a look at it?
Absolutely not. Be happy to provide it.
So let's do that. If Donna has any
I'm sure Valerie will
issues, she
keep you in
can,
the loop.
she can talk directly to Donna and they can stay administrative.
If you have any feedback, I'd be happy to hear it.
I've personally had some issues with projects behind my house.
There's gonna be so many eyes on this project. It's such a large project.
Mhm.
If we have the Army Corps involved, then it's gonna mandate that this get done appropriately.
But everybody's input on the board.
Yeah.
And I think also it just should be in the file, so it's,
Yeah.
so there's something, after all of us that retired and gone on to really wonderful retirement homes, it's in the file.
I've been looking, so.
You've been looking, and you're the youngest one here.
Very far from that. Thank you.
The last slide I have. That was a lot. I know we covered a lot of questions. Anything else that come up? To bring up?
That's where,
Oh, yeah.
ask if there's, is there anybody?
Stop the screen share, just.
If there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this project. See that there's 2 people in the attendees. Could raise your virtual hand. Can you hear me, Margaret? Can the attendees hear? Hear us?
We could hear you, Sandy.
Okay.
No comment, okay. Just members of the board have more questions.
You mentioned this earlier, but I just want to make sure that I'm sort of correct. So this redesign was from 2018. Right? So it was brought about by Jason Motor and the MIT. Correct. So which wasn't a factor.
We did not have it before. It was just by coincidence. I've been here for 19 years. We never had the issue. We looked through the records, we never had the issue. And New York State couldn't give us a good explanation other than it's the canals. And, we did research that they were working on their spillway and which they will in the future. They will work on the whole pro system and lower the spillway. And when that happens, you have more shoreline that's exposed. And MIB can come as a solution. So in the past, New York City didn't share the numbers with us so much. We developed this MIB testing program where we test the MIB every week and we provide them because they're taking monthly samples weekly. So that New York City has the ability to take more different elevations. And we found that based on the elevation, we request higher MIB versus one versus the other. So we're on top of it, and it's like the relationship has gotten so much better, so that we can kind of see this coming. We didn't see it coming; we had no idea. So it was like we built the system and had it health department approve it. That's like unheard of. So, and the numbers were off the charts during that whole time. Like most people, this is a dramatic job. Down to less than 5. Here, those can smell it at 5 of them. And I even have a resident that can smell it when it's like over 1 and the person's right on. It's like, I think it was like a step week because the lab was closed and it's like, he's right. So it's nice to have this technology and be able to do it, but it's important. I think I'm happy with it. You guys are the last step in the final, so you know.
And how long before implementation, full implementation? for this?
Well, actually, the design engineers are Hazen, they're represented right here. They're going to be giving us an engineer's estimate because of cost of materials have gone up. So we're going to have a new number. We're looking to go out to bid within the next couple of months. But it will take roughly 3 years to build it. So as soon as we go out to bid and the town and the village will look at the numbers to see if it's affordable, we have to do something about it. Then we'll start construction. And it's going. The advantage of this plant versus we didn't have the footprint on the old plant to make an expansion change, to change the processes. This plant will be built by itself, and we would be tying in a line into the driveway where when it's ready to go, you turn and have approval, you turn the valve. So you're not doing like planned shutdowns where you can put people out of work.
So do have one question, maybe to, Kathy. But in the resolution, did it anywhere say that there was a guarantee for the plants? Because that's, we don't always do that for every other applicant also. There's some guarantee. And now it's usually we decide.
Make that recommendation.
I would definitely make recommendation for 5-year guarantee after planting.
You can make your recommendations. That be included in the administrative permit.
It's reasonable.
Is that a bond for the wetlands?
No, just a guarantee that the plantings, which I'm sure you're at the water treatment plant, I'm sure they're gonna be fine. But I think it's what we do with everybody else. I just think it should, carry seed.
Meaning that if like a tree dies in the first year.
Yeah, I understand.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just think, thanks for the clarification. So this will all be part of the general contractor's contract, which is bonded, and he has guarantees on what he submits to us, right down to the planting. So we'll have guarantees on the plan. And if you need something supplemental to that, we'll certainly enter into, it's our vested interest as well. It's our reservoir.
Usually they give them 1 year, which is definitely not sufficient. You get a drought or something, a year through it.
Well, you know what, when we have the final plans in place and the general contractor actually has a bid in place with respect to those details, we can certainly run it through the town building again, to get distributed to you guys so you can see where we are. And have your arms around it that way.
Thank you.
Are the attendees want to make a comment? Because I closed the hearing.
Marilyn, did you want to say something? I saw the hand up before.
Marilyn, did you wish to say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you please identify yourself with your full name and address?
Hi, I'm Marilyn Owens, 79 Narragansett in Ossining. I'm a member of the EAC for the town of Ossining. I was listening to the conversation or the presentation, and I was kind of going in and out a bit. And I just wanted clarity on what was the final conclusion or resolution as far as the wetland mitigation being actually documented for this project. I wasn't quite clear on what the final answer was on that. Can someone clarify?
I think that we ended off the discussion was we were absolutely going to prepare a formal wetland mitigation plan. It's the intent.
You are going to prepare a formal mitigation plan?
Yes,
Okay,
we have
all right.
consent. The final plan is in development. It will be submitted to the town. And will be provided to the planning board, although we anticipate the permit process will be administrative, although we seek input from the planning board. Its members.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, close the public.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Prepare a resolution.
And
Yes.
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 and I vote yes as well. So the resolution. Right. February 15th. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item of business are the minutes from October 19th.
I hope we reviewed them, but we didn't have the right amount or number of
Yes,
people.
we did not, so
I don't,
make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I wasn't at that meeting and
I don't think I read them. I didn't realize this was on the agenda. I don't think I read them.
You're done, I think this is,
I wasn't here in December.
No, this is October.
I know, but I
Oh.
don't think I read them. I didn't know it was on the agenda.
Oh.
I might have read.
do you have the minutes there?
Such a long time ago.
Who was at that meeting? I know I
Oh,
wasn't.
it was Jim, Donna, and Jason.
Okay, oh, so maybe you can't vote on it. Okay.
yeah,
So this is the
last
one-
time because Donna wasn't here.
Right,
So we didn't have enough. We needed all three of us. If you didn't get to review them, Donna, I guess we could hold that over till.
Are
the
they
next
really
meeting,
long?
Where you can
No,
read it.
no.
I read it last
was
time.
a short
I mean,
meeting.
You could always.
Let me
I
know
took that
later on if
speed
there's
reading.
anything
That speed reading course. I'm not telling you. names.
So then.
Okay.
But it's just.
I'll make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from the October 19, 2022 meeting.
So,
Yes.
Donna, have you voted yes?
I vote yes.
The minutes are accepted. Motion to adjourn.
I have a couple questions. We went to other things. I want to know like, if there's any updates on Armstrong Plumbing, where that stands. So it's just never gonna happen.
There just hasn't been any communication.
So what happens now? Because they, I mean, I know that it's a commercial plot, but they have like all these vans and they didn't do any of the work, right? Dan, did they do any of the work?
They did like the temporary lot, and then I think everything kind of stalled over this water main matter,
Right.
that there was, the line ran through without an easement, so there was some back and forth on that. And I think it sort of just died on the vine.
They're
So
right on a stream, so that's the thing I'm worried about, is they got all these dams worked on that thing, and they didn't do any of the improvements that they were supposed to do.
but we sort of have an unusual situation in that
usually the trigger is that somebody's coming in for CO
Right. you
on a
don't
new
need it.
structure. So in
Right.
this case, there's an existing structure, he's in it, so we never had that milestone of all site improvements to be completed. So I suppose it's an issue maybe we ought to discuss with the building inspector since this may be moving toward an enforcement action.
What address was this?
It's, I don't, what is the address? It's right across from,
Yeah, it's right across from the
SPCA.
SPCA. It's right almost like at the town line
So it's
on North State Road, right at the town line.
It's very unsightly. It's visual plan. And now what about Terra Rustica? That's like, Rockton Classic. What's happening with that?
That was
They're
approved.
supposed to come, no, they're supposed to come.
Rockton Plastic?
But they were shielding their outside area, but not making it permanent.
Yeah, but I thought they were going to come
Oh.
back to us.
Were they?
Yeah, they were
Okay.
gonna come back to us.
So what's?
Yeah, they have a public hearing that's open.
Right.
I haven't heard
Yeah.
anything
They have
from
to-
them.
They were supposed to come back to us about what they actually wanted to do.
And they're allowed to have that plastic thing?
It's not, that space isn't being used.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh,
It's not being used now.
because they had an ad in the River Journal.
It was there for dinner the
And
other
there's no one
night.
there. Okay.
And
Okay.
it was closed.
Okay.
So.
So,
Reservation
But again, just like Armstrong,
was reminded.
like Armstrong Plumbing, it does have to come back at some point, right?
Well, I mean, you could always, if you send us something in writing, I can deliver that to the building inspector and we can take a look at it.
But they have a temporary CO, right? Doesn't that expire?
They do, no, Armstrong doesn't.
No, I'm saying Terra
Tara,
Rustica.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, their attorney was here, just hasn't called us back. Said they want to be on the agenda, so
And then the 540 North State Road, did they get their CO?
they did.
So I would like for the record to note it that I object to the changes that were made to the plan. For the record. So I have another thing for Valerie, but since she's not here, I'll wait.
Well, Scott's here.
Wait, it's just one of the things that were in the comprehensive plan that I thought we could move ahead on. So I think it's-
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I will make a motion to adjourn to the next meeting.
Second.
Donna, yes,
Yes.
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
What?
Oh, yeah, well, I was checking